Live from New York, it's the show that is appreciating LeBron's commitment to playing as many games as he possibly can. It's First Things First. Today. Okay, so how do you think the 49ers will look without Brock?
Mostly the same way they've looked with Brock, maybe with one additional mistake. And before I give the full answer, which is important, of course it's important, I want to say something real quick. Now that we know he was concussed and that happened before he threw those two picks, I've been very consistent with what I thought of Brock Purdy before and after that game. But I will give him a slight benefit of the doubt, given the fact that some of the worst plays we've seen him make came after he took that brutal shot to the head that I don't know if any of us noticed in real time. And it didn't seem like, he gave
when you look at it
when you look at it now, it's obvious.
Right.
In the flow of the game, I didn't notice it. So I do want to say that just to be fair to him. But listen, I think that Christian McCaffrey will be awesome.
Yeah.
I think the Niners defense will bounce back after one of the worst performances I've seen this Niners defense have in quite some time. I know the Vikings only put up 22 points, but they moved up and down the field the whole way.
Yep.
And I think Sam Darnold will look better than he's looked in any other setting in his NFL career, because that is what happens to mediocre, or in Darnold's case, bad quarterbacks when they go in the Shanahan offense. And so I think the Niners, there is a reason that they went from 5-point favorites to 3.5-point favorites. Because, yes, Purdy is supposed to be better than a guy who is been one of the worst quarterbacks in football for 5 years, but not that much. And so I think the Niners are going to be fine. I think that the offense will look shockingly similar to how it has looked the last few weeks, with the addition of probably there's Sam Darnold throw that Purdy has not been making over the first 6 weeks of the year.
Well, I'm stunned.
Why?
I thought Nick, that was good.
What do you mean?
That was nice.
How it's
Nick
honest.
usually comes out, he's malicious.
Yeah.
He's looking for every little thing. He has his skewed graphics to show. I really thought you were going to kill Brock Purdy.
No, what?
And I
for
had
getting
all
hurt?
this written out that in the interest of fairness, we have to admit the Brock Purdy we saw go from 19 for 24 to 2 of 6 was concussed. The Brock Purdy we saw throw those 2 interceptions in the last 5.5 minutes was concussed. Yeah. So I give Nick credit for bringing
listen, I might not be the mayor of fair, but I'm always, I'm not your deputy of anything, but I am honest.
I did not think that was coming. And I'm going to give a little perspective to the audience. Yeah. Remember Tua last year, when he got concussed against the Packers? He threw 3 interceptions
when we didn't know it until
Right, we didn't know. So he played the game, and he had 3 interceptions for the first time in the season. Yep. And then later on, you find out he's concussed. So obviously, being concussed can affect your performance. So, let's see. You got to give Brock Purdy a little bit of grace for that performance last week. Look, Nick's right. They still should look good. They should be incredibly motivated coming off 2 losses. They're at home. They got a good team that they know is hungry to win a game. And you still got Kyle Shanahan calling the plays. Debo won't be back, but Trent Williams, I think you may have mentioned that, he should be back. They should be able to roll, even without Purdy. I don't say roll because I think they could lose this game. But the offense should be solid. Nick hates when I do it. You can't just throw anybody in there.
Well, Sam Darnold's anybody.
Ask Nick Mullins if you can just throw anybody.
Well, Nick Mullins didn't have these
guys. Ask Brian Hoyer if you can just throw anybody in there.
This team, if Darnold, and that is...
If you think Mullins or Brian Hoyer could do something with
Brian
this
Hoyer, no. Brian Hoyer, no. He hasn't won a game in 8 years.
And Hoyer's actually better than Mullins.
No, okay, that's fine. I don't want to talk about Brian Hoyer or Nick Mullins, because I also don't want to talk about the 2019 San Francisco 49ers. Here is I don't want to do that.
Was there.
But they didn't have these guys. But here is what I also know, that it doesn't matter whether it's Purdy or any of those guys or Garoppolo or Darnold. And this is, to me, one of the reasons I mentioned should they consider trading for Cousins right now. It is one of the reasons I don't believe in the Niners as the Super Bowl juggernaut so many people prior to the last 10 days did. They are now 1-38 under Kyle Shanahan if they trail by 5 or more points in the fourth quarter. Trail by double digits. So they're 0-36 if they trail by 8. But 8's then you need touchdown and 2-point conversion. They're 1-38 if at any point in the fourth quarter they're down by 5. So what does that tell us? It tells us, to me very clearly, that Kyle Shanahan and his offense, when it's working and things are rolling and the ball is going downhill and all of a sudden the defense in the fourth quarter has to worry about the run and the pass, all of it, they're a great team. But as soon as, and this isn't a Purdy indictment, this is across his entire career, if they're in the fourth quarter and it's like, gosh darn it, we got to make some plays, and the other team is probably expecting us to pass, not run, they're 1-38. They can't come back on teams, and that won't change this week. So I say that to say, if Cincinnati can get out to a lead, they're going to win because the Niners don't come back on teams late. They haven't for 6 years since Kyle's been there.
Shanahan's also, he has shown some fourth quarter issues in his career. The Super Bowl in Atlanta when he was just the offensive coordinator and they were up against on the Patriots, and they come back on that. And then against the Chiefs when they're up 10 with 8 minutes left.
Separate thing.
And so my point is, Shanahan should not, as great as he is offensively and an offensive mind, he shouldn't always get a pass for some of these late game losses or miscues that I think they have, his teams have.
All right. If Brock can't go, Sam Darnold will get the call. This will be Darnold's first. He seems confident enough. What would a 49ers win say about Brock?
Well, listen, this is not hyperbole to say, since he's come into the league amongst quarterbacks who've been given the opportunity to start, Sam Darnold's been the worst quarterback in the NFL. And we can show you the numbers. He's last or second to last in everything. So that is not a small sample. That is, he is the worst rating, the worst ratio, the worst completion percentage, and the second worst yards per game and yards per pass. And so it just brew, just like I was to you, much to your chagrin, I think, and certainly to your surprise. I was fair on the front end. You must be fair in this regard, which is how we are seeing Jimmy Garoppolo look right now in Las Vegas is a data point. If Sam Darnold, who's been bad forever, what do you mean?
He was good with Carolina.
Why didn't they? He was 4-2.
Why didn't they bring him back?
He took Baker Mayfield's job.
Because McCaffrey helps. When he had McCaffrey, he was cooking. He's 3-0. His completion percentage is 68.
Okay.
And even for 300 yards a game.
Wait a second, guys.
Those are facts.
Hold on. Is Sam Darnold good? Did Sam Darnold, was he a free agent?
Sam Darnold was the third pick in the draft.
Oh,
he was a
so you guys are
like going back to high school. He was a 4-star high school recruit.
And then he has 6 years of being the worst quarterback in the league.
Remember that?
No, but so this is what you guys are doing it preemptively. So you guys will meet my fairness with total nonsense because Sam Darnold was a free agent this offseason, and he went to a place where he was competing to be the backup. No one in the league would let him compete to be a starter. He had to go somewhere where he'd be competing to be the backup. If he's excellent, if he looks
wasn't going to dethrone the guy who was undefeated.
No. My point is, if he was a legitimate NFL starting caliber player, he wouldn't have chosen to go to a place he had no chance of starting. He chose to go to a place
nobody was going to start him.
Okay, agreed. Nobody's going to start
Jacoby Brissett either, but he's decent. You can put him in tonight, and I bet, next game.
Okay, so all right. Well, then you know what? Maybe the Brock Purdy argument's been foolish all along. If your argument this whole time has just been he's just like Darnold or Jacoby Brissett, then we agree. Then there's nothing to. There's no problem.
Look.
What?
A win without Brock Purdy with Sam Darnold will say nothing about Brock Purdy.
Really?
Did it say something about Dak when Cooper Rush goes 4-1? Really?
People use did it on this show?
No one in their right mind. Were you? I'm sorry. No. I don't want to be cruel, but no one was thinking, save Kevin Wildes maybe. I don't remember properly. Were you? But no one was saying bench Dak. Because Cooper Rush went 4-1.
You were the one talking about it.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Bitch, Dak?
No. Never mind.
I was never saying that.
Okay, that's fine. But go ahead.
I'm just saying, it doesn't, because you win with a backup, doesn't mean that the starter is not good. The Jets have gone 3-3. The Jets have beaten Buffalo and Philadelphia with Zach Wilson. Does that mean they didn't need Aaron Rodgers?
So question.
Does that mean something about him? It doesn't. it won't mean a thing. You still have a great receiving core, even without Debo. And by the way, Brock Purdy was 3-0 without Debo playing last year. Okay, so it's not like he's always had all of his pieces, okay? You still got Christian McCaffrey, and to Wildes' point, Darnold was 4-2 last year on a bad Carolina team. That doesn't have nearly the weapons that this team has in San Francisco or the play caller. So if he comes to San Francisco and wins a game, we're supposed to be shocked and say, oh my gosh, Brock Purdy was no good?
Wait a second, guys, sometimes I don't know what's happening. You have,
I agree,
for 5 years, Brew, or I shouldn't say for 5 years, for 2 years, used as an argument for Jimmy Garoppolo how poorly the Niners looked when he wasn't
when
there.
They were 1-10 and then
exactly
five wins, right?
Okay. So isn't the counterfactual to that the what would work against your argument would be if they looked awesome without
it's
him.
one game.
Correct? No.
It's one game tonight.
It would be a data point. And if the Niners come out and C-Mac on Sunday is terrible and the Niners offense can't function, it is a data point in Brock Purdy's favor, is it not?
I mean, I guess so. But then
let me give you a real data point, Nick.
Yeah.
Let's see this graphic.
Yeah.
The offense, since Brock Purdy's been the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, I think we're going to see this graphic. They have been the highest scoring offense in the league.
Yes.
Higher than Tua, who's got weapons galore and a nice play caller. Higher than Dak. Higher than Josh Allen, Hurts, and our boy Patrick Mahomes. That's a data point because guess what they were averaging before Purdy became the starter? 24 points a game.
Yeah.
Middling.
Yeah.
Middling. And he took them to the top.
Or you could say
that's
McCaffrey
a data point.
Right, correct.
No, I'm not saying McCaffrey did because McCaffrey
was there for 2 games.
In Carolina, they weren't playing that great with McCaffrey.
Yes, agreed. But
McCaffrey's averaged 3 yards a carry the last 3 weeks. I'm just saying, it's all about Christian McCaffrey.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
What have you been joking about within the office about your fear coming up on a future day?
Well, I have to take Monday off.
Why? And what are you worried about?
If you guys do a monster number, it's a loss for me.
It's a loss for you.
And
what do we joke about whenever one of us has to miss a show? What do we joke about? That the person who's missing is quietly rooting against the success of that day's show.
Drew was rooting for us.
I want you guys to rock.
That's great. But whether you being a team player or not is irrelevant to the point of, it is all kind of understood of like, well, if the show doesn't miss a beat when I'm not here, how important am I?
It'd be a tough look.
The same logic applies here.
I'll say this for you, Nick, because you do bring up a lot that Brock Purdy is the weak link for San Francisco.
Yes.
Now, I'll admit, and I think most people would, he is not as good to this point as Nick Bosa is at what he does, as Debo and Christian McCaffrey and Kittle and Fred Warner are what they do.
Yes.
Okay, but when you say weak link, it makes it like, he's just not that good. He's not as good as those guys, but he's still a good player at what he's doing.
So he is the weak link.
No, it's not. That's the difference. When you say weak link,
it
just means he's not as good as those all-pro players.
That's fine. It's a super
Has anybody
strong
said
chain
he's the
otherwise.
all-pro?
But it was discussed that he was going to be the league MVP.
Well, he was after week 5.
Okay. If
just
Darnold gets in there and cooks, it's a bad look for the Brock Purdy truthers.
You said how many
all
games
know it.
He averaged 300 yards a game, didn't he?
We all agree that Darnold's not good. Is Darnold good? Is he good?
We'll
the 49ers said he could be Steve Young.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, who you praise. Okay. In fact, that's one of the reasons you don't give Purdy credit because Kyle Shanahan's so great.
So
he said he's Steve Young.
This side of the table is so scared that Sam Darnold is going to cook. They are trying to preemptively be like, actually, guys, everything you think you know about Sam Darnold, that whole worst in everything category, not true. No, Sam Darnold's actually good.
They say Steve Young.
Okay.
What do you want us to do?
What was Kyle Shanahan doing? You can't say, like Kyle Shanahan, do you put your reputation on the line by calling a scrub possibly Steve Young?
Brew?
I mean, he could go out there and say, hey, we think he's got a lot of talent. We watch him at USC. He could do something. You don't have to go to Steve Young.
I don't think it's putting his reputation on the line. I don't think anyone's going to be like, Kyle Shanahan
Why
can't
do you
be
say
trusted because people talk up their players.
Steve Young? They talk him up to be a Hall of Famer.
Brew, it was, just for the record, the reason he used Steve Young was because Steve Young was a guy who had been on a different team, came to the Niners, was backing someone up, and then took over. It wasn't drawn totally out of thin air. It was because he was trying to draw a comparison of a player from his organization who had
if someone compared Purdy to Tom Brady, you wouldn't be all understanding because he's just talking about a low pick that nobody thought would do anything.
That's literally what happened. He got compared to Tom Brady,
and you said it was ridiculous.
And I said him comparing that Sam Darnold and Steve Young is ridiculous.
He's good enough that the organization.
Oh my God!
You know what I'm going to say, but it's true. Darnold went in there and was competing for the backup job. Not only did he win the backup job, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
You're a Cowboy now.
That's
thanks for that.
That's
I know
the truth.
we gave up a bunch of draft capital.
That's the truth.
But again, you guys think I am tied to Trey Lance. I am not. But you guys cannot, out of one side of your mouth, be like, Kyle Shanahan believes in this quarterback. He must be right. And then also be like, Trey Lance stinks when Kyle Shanahan believed in Trey Lance enough to trade 3 first-round picks for him.
Before he had him as a player.
Exactly.
And he obviously got to know him better as a player.
He called him Steve Young before he threw a pass for him. Before he got to before he got to throw one pass for him, he called him Steve Young. And now you guys are tied to it.
One guy's Steve Young, one guy's now on the Cowboys. It's like a monster.
I mean, you know, Nick, that's a lot to admit. We made a big mistake by giving up all those draft picks for Trey Lance and the trading.
And the way to justify it is we're actually replacing him with Steve Young, who we hope never has to play. But okay, we'll see.
They had to expect.
Then there's the Bengals coming off a bye. Okay, so here's Burrow after a bye week. The last 2 years, they always start slow and then turn it on. Brew, you were adamant that Burrow should play and would get better and better, while Nick said he should put himself in a full body cast or one of those large inflatable bubbles.
You agreed with me.
That kids use at birthday parties and smash into each other.
Thank you.
I almost didn't say that because of the way you gave me those props. But it's football, guys. Can we
okay,
admit
that's fine.
that
Answer
you
the
play
question.
through pain?
Answer the
All
question.
right. It would be Nick's worst nightmare.
Why?
That the Bengals are back. I mean, seriously. Hold on, Nick. Matchups, styles make fights.
Yeah,
and you got to admit they're 3-1. Burrow's 3-1 against the Chiefs. And what they do last year that controversial loss last year in the AFC title, they went into Arrowhead. They made themselves a sandwich.
No, they
sat down on the couch, took off their shoes, threw their feet up there with their socks stinking, and watched the game. Watch the movie.
Bro, how many times has Joe Burrow won in Arrowhead? How many times?
I don't know, but he's 3-1 against the Bengals.
He's won against the Chiefs. He's won one time. It's
pretty good.
In Arrowhead. It's once. It's more than most. But it is not enough for me to say he's 1-1 against Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead.
500.
And he's 3-1 against the Chiefs.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and the idea that the Bengals are not the Chiefs' biggest concern. Your Ravens are actually the Chiefs' biggest concern. Listen, a win here would mean they're alive. Nothing more. Because if they lose, they're done. They're done.
Done?
Show the schedule, and then see if you agree with me.
There's no doubt.
The toughest schedule by winning percentage left in the NFL.
It's tough.
8 of their final 11 are against teams with a winning record. The 3 teams that have a losing record have all been frisky. Houston, Indy, and what's the one? Oh, Minnesota. Your Minnesota Vikings.
They won't have a losing record by then.
You can't be like, well, let's just be alive at the end of the year in Week 18 because they can't seemingly beat the Browns under any circumstances. And what I really want to know is what I'm curious this week is Joe Burrow actually back? Because Joe Burrow played well in one game. He didn't play well in that Seattle game. And right now this season, he is averaging the fewest yards per attempt of any player with 200-plus passes since Jimmy Clausen in 2010. So, Jimmy, it's the fewest yards per attempt of anyone with at least 210 passes in 13 years, 5.3. And the year they went to the Super Bowl, he was 8.0 down to 5.3. So I want to see if Joe Burrow's actually back, but I think the Bengals have dug themselves too big of a hole to be a true contender. But if they lose, I think they're done. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.